The wind howled through the peaks of the sacred cliffs, but inside the great cavern, all was warm and safe. The scent of fresh bedding, soft moss and woven feathers filled the air, and the gentle crackle of embers from the glowing fire pits cast long shadows upon the cave walls. Here, nestled in the warmth of their home, the youngest dragons gathered around Sunset, their great elder, their queen, their protector. She lay upon a bed of soft furs, her golden scales now dulled by time but no less magnificent. Her wings, once battle-worn, now rested peacefully against her sides. Her talons, once sharp with war, traced the cave floor as she spoke. "Come closer, little ones," she said, her voice a deep rumble, like the earth itself telling an ancient tale. "Let me tell you of the world beyond these cliffs. The world of fire, chaos, and war. The world that was tamed, just for you." The smallest hatchlings curled up beside her, their bright eyes wide with wonder. A little blue drake, Skytail, nuzzled close. "War?" he asked, his voice soft. Sunset nodded, her golden eyes reflecting the flickering firelight. "There was a time when the sky was not safe," she began. "A time when fire rained down, not in warmth, but in fury. When talons clashed, and the wind carried cries of battle instead of songs of peace." The hatchling shivered, though the cavern was warm. "The war of dragonkind lasted 10 long years. Our home was nearly lost, our kind nearly broken." A red-scaled hatchling flare puffed out his tiny chest. "But you won, didn't you?" Sunset smiled, touching his snout with the tip of her wing. "We won," she said. "But it was not an easy victory. Many of us fell. Many gave everything to protect these cliffs." Her voice grew quieter, a distant sadness hidden beneath her strength. "We fought because we had to. We fought so that one day our young would never have to. So that you, my little ones, could grow here without fear." The cave fell silent, save for the crackling embers. A tiny silver dragoness, Lunara, tilted her head. "But is it still dangerous?" she asked. Sunset's gaze turned toward the cavern entrance, where beyond the vast world stretched endlessly into the night. "The world will always be dangerous, little one," she murmured. "Beyond these cliffs, storms rage, kings rise and fall, the beasts of the deep still hunger, and the mountains still whisper secrets of old. But here," she looked down at them, warmth in her voice, "here, you are safe. Here, you are free." Skytail curled his tail around himself. "Because you fought for us?" Sunset nodded. "Because we all fought for you." For a moment there was only silence. The young ones processed her words, their minds filled with images of dragons locked in battle, of fire and fury, of skies torn apart by war. But when they looked up at their elder, they did not see a warrior broken by battle. They saw a protector, a survivor, a dragon who had fought not for herself, but for them. A deep realization settled over them. Flare stood up, determination in his eyes. "One day I'll protect the cliffs too," he declared. The other hatchlings chirped in agreement, nudging each other, wings flapping with newfound purpose. Sunset chuckled, a sound deep and warm, like rolling thunder on a distant horizon. "Perhaps one day you will," she said. "But for now, little ones, rest. The world will wait for you to grow." As the hatchlings curled into their nests, their small bodies rising and falling with peaceful breaths, Sunset watched over them. She had fought for them. She had bled for them. And now, as she watched the next generation sleep soundly, untouched by war, she knew that every battle, every scar, every sacrifice had been worth it. Outside, the night wind howled, but inside the sacred cliffs, all was warm, all was safe, and for the first time in many years, Sunset closed her eyes and truly rested. The fire pits in the sacred cliffs crackled softly, casting a golden glow upon the cavern walls. Outside, the night wind howled through the mountains, but within the cave the young dragons lay curled on warm bedding, listening to their elder speak. Sunset sat upon her great resting perch, her golden armor no longer worn, but her presence was as powerful as ever. Her scales shimmered in the firelight, and her wings, though battle-scarred, still held the strength of a warrior who had seen more than most. Tonight, however, her voice was not filled with warmth. Tonight she spoke of him. "You have learned of the wars we fought," she began, her deep voice echoing through the cavern. "You know of the battles that carved our history, of the flames that shaped these cliffs. But there is one enemy that did not fall, one who lingers still, beyond the edge of the world." The hatchlings huddled closer, their eyes wide with curiosity and a flicker of fear. A small blue drake, Skytail, lifted his head. "Who, Elder? Who is he?" Sunset's eyes darkened, her gaze drifting toward the cave entrance, beyond which lay the great wastelands, lands of ruin and rot, where no dragon dared to fly. "His name is Vasreth, the Withered." A hush fell over the younglings. Even the oldest apprentices in the back of the cavern exchanged wary glances. Vasreth, a name whispered only in warnings, a name that still carried weight, even after years of silence. Long ago, before even the War of Dragonkind, there was a dragon unlike any other. Sunset continued, her voice low and steady. He did not crave power, nor land, nor treasure. He did not fight for honor, nor vengeance. No, Vasreth was a dragon of decay. The firelight flickered as she spoke, as if the very air remembered his name. He did not burn with fire. He did not strike with lightning. He wielded something far worse. She let the silence hang before she spoke the word. Wasting. The hatchlings shuddered. They had heard of the wasting, a sickness that spread like creeping shadows, a curse that left the land brittle and lifeless. It did not scorch. It did not break. It simply drained. "Vasreth is no mere beast," Sunset warned. "He is a plague, a dragon whose very breath turns mountains to dust, whose talons sap the strength from the strongest of warriors. He does not destroy with fury or rage. He destroys with time." The younglings trembled at the thought. "We defeated many enemies in the wars," she continued, "but we did not defeat him. He did not fight us in battle, nor did he fall as the others did. He simply vanished." Lunara, the small silver dragoness, tilted her head. "If he is gone, why do you fear him?" Sunset let out a slow breath, her eyes burning with something deeper than fear. "Because evil does not need to be seen to exist, little one," she said. "Vasreth waits, he watches, and one day when we least expect it, he will rise again." The fire crackled, the wind howled, the hatchlings pressed closer together. "I do not tell you this to frighten you," Sunset said at last. "I tell you because one day you may face him." A hush fell over the cave. "It may not be tomorrow. It may not be in your lifetime. But one day Vasreth will return, and when he does, you must be ready. You must be stronger than we were, stronger than war itself, because Vasreth does not fight battles." She met each young dragon's gaze, her voice steady, unshaken. "He ends them." For a long moment there was only silence. Then slowly, one by one, the young dragons lifted their heads, no longer filled with fear, but with resolve. "If he comes, Flare," the red hatchling whispered, "we will fight him." "We will be ready," Skytail added. Sunset looked upon them and felt something stir in her chest. Hope. Good, she said. Then rest well, my young ones. One day the sky may darken again, but you are the light that will stand against it. And as the younglings drifted into uneasy dreams, Sunset gazed into the fire, a quiet thought lingering in her mind. Somewhere, in the farthest reaches of the world, Vasrith still waited, and when the time came she prayed that these young ones, the future of their kind, would be strong enough to stand against the dragon that never dies. The night was calm, the wind gentle as it carried the scent of the ocean into the sacred cliffs. Below, the world stretched far beyond the mountains, past the valleys, past the forests, past the endless dunes of sand, until it met the great unknown sea. It was there, beneath the waves, that Hunter waited. Inside the great cavern the young dragons huddled close, their gazes locked on Sunset, who sat before them. The firelight flickered across her golden scales, but her eyes burned with a warning far older than war itself. The wars we fought were great, she began, her voice steady. But not all enemies live in the sky. Some are beneath us, some wait in the deep. The hatchling shifted uneasily. The ocean was a place of mystery to them, a vast and endless world beyond their reach. Her name is Hunter, Sunset said, her tone heavy with meaning. A serpent of the sea, a dragon of the depths, and one day she will rise. The fire crackled softly, and the cavern walls seemed to shudder as Sunset spoke the name. Long before the war of dragonkind, before even our ancestors claimed the cliffs, Hunter ruled the waters. She is not like us. Her kind do not soar through the heavens. They slither through the abyss, their wings like fins, their breath like the cold tide. Where she moves, the ocean follows. Where she commands, the waves obey. A small hatchling, Stormtail, shivered. But the ocean is far from here. Why should we fear her? Sunset's gaze darkened. Because Hunter is not alone. The young dragons froze. She has gathered an army of the drowned, dragons who vanished into the deep, creatures twisted by the sea, beasts that no longer breathe air, but water. They wait with her, beneath the tides, their eyes forever open, watching the land, waiting for the moment to strike. The hatchling stared at her in stunned silence. She does not rage like fire. She does not march like armies on the land. She is patient, and that is why she is dangerous. Outside the wind howled, and far away the sound of crashing waves echoed through the cliffs. Many believe the war is over, Sunset continued, that we have seen our last great battle, but the ocean does not forget. It waits. It watches. She turned her eyes toward the cave entrance, where the sky met the horizon. One day, the tides will rise too high, the storms will stretch too far, and the sea will come for the land. A deep silence filled the cavern. Then, after a long pause, Flare, the boldest of the hatchlings, lifted his head. If she comes, he said, we will fight. Sunset met his gaze, a slow approving nod following. Yes, she said, we will. The hatchlings sat up straighter, their fear turning into something stronger. We will be ready, Stormtail echoed. We will not fall, Lunara whispered. Sunset let a breath of warmth flow through her nostrils, pride swelling in her heart. Good, she said at last. Sleep well, my young ones. The ocean may wait, but so do we. And when the tide rises, her golden eyes flickered like firelight. We will rise with it. And as the young dragons curled up once more, the wind outside carried the sound of distant waves, a warning, a promise, a challenge yet to come, a tale of Timber, the healer, and the tree of life. The sacred cliffs had always been a place of strength, where warriors were forged, where legends were born. But even warriors needed time to rest. Inside the great cavern, Sunset, the elder queen of the dragons, sat upon her bedding of moss and furs, watching over the younglings as they drifted into peaceful sleep. She had guided them, told them the stories of war, of enemies past and yet to come. But even as she spoke with wisdom, there was a weariness in her golden eyes. That was when Timber entered. The leaf drake was unlike the others. Where most dragons bore scales of flame, storm, or ice, her body was covered in shimmering emerald plating, her wings resembling great leaves woven of nature itself. Her presence was not one of battle, but of healing, of balance, of renewal. Sunset turned to her, sensing the unspoken words in her gaze. "Timber?" she rumbled. "Why have you come?" The healer stepped forward, her voice steady yet soft. "Because you must rest, Sunset." Timber's green eyes met the golden ones of the elder. "You have watched over them, guided them, protected them. But even the strongest must rest." Sunset exhaled, a slow and measured breath. She had heard such words before. She had ignored them before. But Timber was different. Timber was the only one she truly trusted. "And if I leave, who will guard them?" Sunset asked. Timber gave a rare smile. "I will." A hush fell over the cave. Even the embers of the fire seemed to still. "Rest, Sunset," Timber said again, with a healer's unwavering certainty. "The night is mine to keep." For the first time in many moons, Sunset nodded, agreed. And with one final glance at the younglings, she turned and left the cavern, stepping out into the cool night air. Timber now stood alone before the young ones, their eyes blinking up at her with curiosity. The healer exhaled gently. "Now," she said, settling herself onto the soft moss, "let me tell you a different story. One not of war, but of life." The young dragons inched closer, eager to listen. Far beyond the sacred cliffs, beyond even the wastelands, there is a place that few dragons have ever seen. Timber began, her voice like the rustling of leaves in a gentle wind. A place where the earth itself breathes, where the sky kisses the land, and where time does not touch the roots of what grows there. "What is it?" asked Lunara, the smallest of the younglings. Timber's emerald eyes gleamed. "It is called the Tree of Life." The cavern filled with quiet wonder. Its roots stretch deep beneath the world, its branches touch the heavens. It is said that the first dragons came from its leaves, and that the last dragon will one day return to it. The hatchlings listened intently, their eyes wide. "Its fruit heals the wounded," Timber continued. "Its waters cleanse the weary. It is the place where balance is restored, where no war can reach, where no blade can cut." The younglings leaned closer. "But most of all," Timber whispered, "it is the heart of all life, the source of what keeps the world alive." A quiet pause lingered in the air. Then Flare, bold as ever, lifted his head. "Then why don't we go there? If it is so powerful, why not bring its power to the cliffs?" Timber smiled knowingly. "Because that is not the way of life, young one." She spread her leaf-like wings. "The tree does not choose sides. It does not fight wars. It does not rule over dragons, nor does it seek power. It simply is." She met each of their gazes, and that is why its gift must never be taken, only given. The younglings fell silent, thinking on her words. Even Flare, who always spoke of battle, nodded in understanding. Timber stood, her presence gentle but strong. "The world is not just fire and war," she told them. "It is not just enemies waiting to strike. It is also renewal. It is also healing. It is also life." She looked towards the cave entrance where Sunset had gone to rest. "That is why I am here. That is why healers exist. To remind dragons that they are not just warriors, but something more." The fire burned low, the embers warm and steady. The younglings curled up once more, their hearts no longer just filled with stories of war, but of hope. Timber watched them, standing silent and strong. She was no warrior. She did not wield talons in battle, nor breathe fire upon her foes, but she was the one who mended those who did. She was the one who kept them alive. And so, as the night stretched on, Timber watched over them, the guardian of the wounded, the keeper of balance. The cliffs had many warriors, but it had only one healer,